Hey, great day to you. Today we are having a tutorial of Viral Launch. We're going to go in depth. Viral Launch is one of the oldest softwares for Amazon sellers, but these days Viral Launch is kind of back to the game and growing. So that's amazing. And I'm happy to have Jonathan with us today from Viral Launch, who's going to help us with the tutorial. We're going to go through the tools of Viral Launch, show you, the viewer, the listener, how they work with some examples, and hopefully it's going to be useful for you so you can make the most out of our launch for your Amazon business, whether you're a beginner, advanced seller, maybe a bigger agency, an aggregator. We are going to go through the pricing as well in the end, so you understand which pricing plan is the best for you. There's like three different plans. There's also kind of separate way to invest in the extension only. So we'll go through that. And in the description, there's going to be a special kind of link to score a nice deal for Viral Launch for the monthly, for the yearly plans. There's going to be a coupon code Vova, the OVA, which helps save with the monthly, again, plans with the yearly. And my name is Vova Evan. I'm a seller on Amazon, been selling since 2016, still actively selling, and also in kind of in the YouTube space, sharing different tutorials and stuff for Amazon sellers. So thank you for watching. So yeah, Jonathan, man, could you please introduce yourself, man? And then we're gonna dive deep into Viral Launch.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. I'm Jonathan D'Ambrosio. I'm the director of content at Viral Launch. And yeah, today I'm just going to walk you through the entire platform from soup to nuts. I imagine that I'm just going to follow the seller journey from product discovery all the way to listing optimization and then PPC.
Mm-hmm. Cool, man. So maybe in a few words, man, like what is Viral Launch for someone who's watching first time? Like what is Viral Launch, kind of?
Yeah, so Viral Launch is a platform where e-commerce sellers can do everything that they possibly need to do to optimize their sales. So if you're somebody who has an idea and doesn't know if the market is right for it, Viral Launch is a great place to validate that. If you want to sell, but you're not entirely sure what you want to sell and you want to look for product ideas, Viral Launch is also a great place to do that. And then once you start selling, it's a great place to just do market research, competitor research, optimize your listings, and really just profit as much as possible using our tools.
Thanks, man. Kind of well explained in a few sentences. So I guess that explains for newer people who are just seeing it for the first time what it is. So it's for beginners, for more advanced sellers on different stages of the journey. So, all right, man. So let's dive into the tools. As you mentioned, as you see the logic of the seller kind of from the beginning, and let's run with it. Should be interesting, I believe.
Yeah, so the first tool that we have is the product discovery tool, which is, as I mentioned, if you're looking for a product to sell. Yeah, so there's four different tabs. The product tab is a great tab for if you want to like zero in on a specific product. The keyword tab obviously is if you're looking for keywords that might be having a high search volume and trending. Brands are if you're looking for a specific brand. That's a good tab to use in case you're, I guess, doing some competitive research. I guess if you're looking to invest in a brand, if you're an aggregator and want to look at what sort of brands are up and coming and
Mm.
would be ripe for actually purchasing. I guess the brand tab would be good for that. And then the category tab is to look for what categories are there's a gap in the market with, so that you can try to zero in on a category or subcategory, um, which is a really great place to start. And then if you don't know what you want to sell, so the category tab is a really great place to start. And then you can zero in on a subcategory, and then from there you can kind of start zeroing in on what possible products there are and find your niche.
Hmm. Makes sense. So we can kind of
Yeah.
see how they, how would like, how would a seller then start with such kind of approach. So if they choose to go with the product, say, so they want to start with looking for products, what do they have here? What are these tabs like for those who are not too familiar?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start with the
Like
category tab. We'll start with the category tab,
category.
and then I'll work my way back down to the
Mm,
keyword. So
mm,
category
mm-hmm.
is a good place to start at a really
Makes
high
sense.
level and just find out what sort of markets within the Amazon ecosystem are really
Mm,
thriving or ripe for some sellers to go in there and take. So in here you have a set of filters at the top of the page. There's also a tutorial here if you ever want to
mm,
kind of like rebone up.
mm-hmm.
And so there's a categories filter here. So that's for people who maybe are entrepreneurs who are coming from a previous job, right? And you know you're familiar with a certain market. Maybe you're more familiar with sports equipment. Maybe you're more familiar with arts and crafts or something in home goods. It's a great place for you to start. If there are multiple markets that you want to look into, you can obviously just click them. So for this, I'm just gonna, for the sake of argument, click on home and kitchen, arts and crafts, and Kitchen and dining,
Mm-hmm.
just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll zero in on those categories. You obviously don't have to click on those categories. You can leave it agnostic. And then over here, there's a few high level filters. So the opportunity score is just basically setting based on a series of metrics that we've calculated, like how much opportunity resides in that category. So obviously, if you go on the lower end, it's going to be not that much opportunity, and then if you go towards the higher end, you're going to zero in on a lot of opportunity. I always like to just go somewhere in the middle. I feel like that and the maturity is a really good place to start because this is showing how much that market has or that category has matured and like how much space is left. Obviously, if you go into a category that's already matured through a lot of its growth, there's not a lot of opportunity after that. So you don't really want to be finding it at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're not a trailblazer and you don't want to be in a category that doesn't have a lot of competition, it's hard to find that in the early stages of maturity. So again, that strike zone, I'm just going to put somewhere in the middle, and
Mm-hmm.
that gives us some margin for some room to maneuver. Yeah, and then from there, I mean, you have things like average price. Obviously, you don't want to find something that's too high ticket items. So I'm just going to put like a generic, let's go 20 to $50. It's like good margins in there probably. And then monthly sales, we want to find something that has a lot of demand, but not a lot of competition isn't oversaturated. So let's go like 100 to 10,000 monthly sales.
That's per category, Jonathan, like of the category that we're looking into. So or per product in that category.
So you can look at subcategories. We can go to the broader category. I'm just trying to see if there's any subcategories out there that might
Ah.
be, yeah. So the average price is going to be like within that category branch. So
Mm-hmm.
if under kitchen and dining, there's, I don't know, placemat settings or something,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the average price on that. You can obviously set these to lower or higher. So we can go 10 to 50.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then we can always expand out from there. If you want to go, we can go 100,000,
Ah,
we can go
I see what you mean.
200,000, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. In addition to those up here, there are advanced filters down here. So you have like, average profit margin, average monthly revenue, average net profit. So that's basically looking for the products within those categories, what that average is going to be based on everything that's there. You can look at like the number of unique brands. Obviously, like the less unique brands, the more of like sort of blue ocean opportunities there are going to be. And then the more brands there are, I mean, it's kind of a slippery slope, right? Because you want a market that has some competition that you can kind of study and see what they're doing wrong and doing right, but you also don't
Mm.
want to be in a market that's oversaturated. Yeah, number of products, sales change. Obviously, these are just deltas that change month over month, like price changes, sales year over year. And you can get as granular as you want in here, or you can stay high level. It's also, you can look at fulfillment by the manufacturer, the fulfillment by Amazon percentage, just like a hard left turn into fulfillment by manufacturer. And that's a lot of blue ocean stuff that people are doing where it might be hard to keep up inventory on the actual Amazon platform. And then you're going to get into smaller ticket items, probably with fulfillment by Amazon. So it's really depending on like what you're looking to do. Yeah. Any questions there so far?
Well, I wanted to mention because there are quite many of those filters. There's the kind of question mark nearby most of them, if not all. And then if people hover over it, they'll see maybe we didn't cover some of them in this tutorial or something, so they can always kind of catch up and remember what's that all about, and then play with the filters because each can be like each one is unique and can be a different angle for finding products. So, and they can be, of course, mixed. They can be left blank, as you mentioned, or we can, but sometimes if we fill everything too much, then we might not get any products also, but still like learn what each does and then see kind of, yeah, what works for us as sellers, what exactly we want to see. Maybe someone wants to see only high ticket products or someone who's starting might not want. And yeah, or maybe, well, let's see, maybe someone wants to see average net profit, within some range, etc., etc., or best sales period. Maybe people prefer selling seasonal products. Maybe they come from, I don't know, someone has experience in retail selling like, let's say, winter stuff. So they're like, okay, I'll go with that. And etc. There's endless probably ways to use that. So yeah, but just the question marks will help us to understand what each does.
For sure, that's a great call out. And there are throughout the platform on this tool as well as other tools, there are tool tips like that
Mm.
for most everything. So if there's ever something that users are confused about or need a little bit more detail about, there are those tool tips to help you guide you along. Great. So then once we sort of have these inputs, you can just hit the show categories, and that's going to bring up whatever search results we get there. So down here, you're going to get your search results. It's going to show you the subcategory. It's going to show you the root
Mm.
category. It'll show you how many brands are operating within that subcategory, the average price, the monthly sales within that category, the monthly revenue, average reviews, or the number of reviews total, and then opportunity maturity, which I had mentioned earlier. Opportunity is obviously how much opportunity relies in there, which is a proprietary metric that we've come up with. And then the maturity is basically just looking at the market and how it's behaved over time. From there, you can obviously download any of the search results that you want. You can export it as a partial or full data set. And then from there, you can just sort of browse through this. There are buttons, or I mean, there are icons and shortcuts throughout to help you along. There's an Amazon, so if you wanted to go and check out a specific category on Amazon, so if you want to actually just take a look on the platform of what everything looks like, you can click on that. And
Hmm.
then there's also a pin function, which throughout the platform there are pins in market intelligence and keyword research, and that's basically just to bookmark your idea, and you can find them here later when you go to pinned ideas on the
Hmm.
menu.
Hmm.
So, just so you don't get bogged down, maybe there's a bunch of things that you find that you just want to earmark. You can obviously just pin it to your profile and then go back and look at it later. So you're not just getting sidetracked with a bunch of different things.
Hmm.
So, yeah, from there, if there's a product or subcategory that you specifically see that you'd want to look at further? I mean, Vova, is there anything here that you specifically see where you're like, oh, that's interesting to me? Like, let's dive into that a little bit
Hmm.
further.
What's beading supplies? Beading? What type of?
Beading would be like arts and crafts with like putting bracelets together, and I guess it could also be any number
Hmm.
of functions. But like, let's
All
look
right.
into it.
Sounds like
So
small product maybe. Yeah. Like so maybe could be nice. Hmm.
yeah, I mean, the average price of $10.
Well, that's
It's a nice one. So you
okay.
can just click the full analysis button, and that will take you to a breakout of that entire subcategory. At the top,
Hmm.
you'll see a category branch. So you're going to see the main one, arts and crafts and sewing, and then it goes into beading and jewelry making, and then the subcategory below that.
Hmm.
It's going to show you the average daily sales in units over time. So we have from September 23 to this year. And then it's showing you more just drilling down into specific data, sales year over year, estimated order volume. Again, you have these tooltips here to help you along. Average price change over the last 90 days, sales trends. And these are just kind of helping you gauge like how healthy is this market? Is it trending up? Is it
Yeah.
trending down? Sometimes these are pretty volatile and there'll be mixed. Like sales year over year will be up, average price will be down, so on and so forth. This
Hmm.
is showing you that seasonal period, so best sales period. And then market share percentage, obviously, and then the maturity score, and then sales distribution. Keep scrolling down. You're going to see the average sales price. So that's
Hmm.
another breakdown from the actual units that we're moving up top. And then further down, you're going to see what percentage of fulfillment is within that subcategory. You're going to see as far as monthly metrics on revenue and sales, they'll be down here. And then finally, reviews and any other specific call outs that you want to see. So, reviews are just breaking down all of the review metrics across all of those products that are in that subcategory. And then additional information as far as how many unique brands are in that subcategory, what the shipping size is. So, again, like this is a small one. So, as far as like
Yeah.
considering inventory and all those things, cogs that are going to be baked in. Yeah. And then just in all of that additional information, you're going to have number of products, so on and so forth. And then down here, I think this is really cool because this is calling out the top products in the category as well as the top brands. And so you can look at like how these brands are performing. You can to get little, there are these icons and
Yeah.
shortcuts to help you along to the platform. And then there's also a view analysis here that will actually bring you down to a full analysis of that brand. So everything
All
that we've
right.
seen here you can look at it at the brand level. So if I click on this, it's going to bring you down to that. And you're going to see those exact same metrics broken down for that brand specifically. And it just kind of helps you look at what the competition is, how well they're performing, how they're doing what they're doing, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we will get into that in the brand tab
Brand.
more, but
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted
Mm-hmm.
to call out here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then obviously child categories isn't going to show us, well, actually, I guess there are child categories. Usually there aren't in like subcategories because you get down to a certain level of the branch that just doesn't have anything
Yeah.
beneath it. But this is showing
Oh.
the child categories within the beading supplies. But the great thing is, if you go up here and you want to check out, even more child categories within that market somewhere, you can just go up to the next one tier up on the category branch and
Mm.
scroll down, and then this will show you even more categories within that. So you can see what else is in there that you might want to take a look at to see maybe possibly there's something in there. And that obviously goes up to the main category, which is arts and crafts. And you
Mm-hmm.
could dig down from there. But there are these full analyses, which I think are really, really great sources for just information and getting sellers what they need. Uh, and I feel like it's not leveraged as much as I'm surprised when I will be talking to sellers and they won't be leveraging that information. I feel like they always look for things at a
Mm.
higher level, and I think these analyses is really get at a lot of the information that people spend a lot of time running around trying to
Yeah.
find. And it's funny because so many of our competitors have platforms that will overwhelm you with data without really giving you clear insights into specific things. And I think this is a really great tool to be able to like get down to that level and see some insights. Yeah, and so that's just the product one. I
Mm-hmm.
won't get way late here. And then, when we get back to product discovery, you can go back to the brand tab, and here you can just look at specific things. So if there's a specific, brand or competitor that you want to look at, like say you're in the cleaning category and you want to look at Clorox, you can just type in the brand name and that will bring up, you know, that brand, and you could basically break out into a full analysis and see how that's working. Obviously, Clorox hasn't been doing great over the time. Obviously, that's probably has something to do with sustainability and people becoming more eco-friendly as time goes on. Huge fall off here. So if you really want to just dig into brands and try to find out like how they're performing over time, that's a great way if you just want to put it in there. I always use it and leverage it for some competitor intelligence. But obviously, you can do other things up here. And you can look at the growth rate, which is you can go insane mode, good, moderate, slow, no growth, like the success level, whether in the top 1%, they're high, they're
Oh.
moderate. Again, there's all these filters. You can filter by category. And this is a great way just to find competitors, or again, if you're an aggregator or just looking to invest or partner with a brand, this is a great place to just leverage that information and find out what's out there.
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan, once we get yeah, there it is. We can download I assume the information with also here.
Yeah, in every tab of product discovery, there's that download function that you're able
Hmm.
to use. But
Interesting.
if you don't want to use a specific, let's say, you're just looking at moderate brands since we were looking at arts and crafts, let's see if, like what's out there, and that will bring you down into these search results, and you'll be able to see like what brands out there, how many products they have, what their average price is. So this is a great way of just like getting a sense of, hey, like I just want to see what the average product offering is. There's obviously a lot of variations in this category, which if you're looking at just sort of operational fat and all of the things to consider, variations are always hard to upkeep. So it's always easier to start out with something that's uh, has fewer variations, but that's also, it depends on what your appetite is.
Could we then say we got this, we got the what moderate level of brand, and we chose arts and crafts, and we have this kind of table of names of brands. Could we then like filter them by average price from low to high or high to low, let's say in this case?
Yeah, absolutely. All of these columns and all the tabs, and as
Ah,
well
okay.
as in the category tab, you can sort,
Mm,
which is great. So you can
interesting.
just, yeah, so you can find brands that have an average seller. You can look at the variations that I was talking about. You can see the ones that have the highest variations. You can see the ones that have
Ooh.
the lowest variations. You can see the relationship between whether the what I would do is I would export this into like a pivot table in an Excel spreadsheet and try to compare like how the sales or how well brands perform based on how many products they have in their catalog.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. That's
Yes,
nice.
yeah, yeah, and you can
Mm-hmm.
also look at the number of reviews that way. So the sorting is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, and also I'm looking at this monthly revenue. I'm starting to maybe I want to get into the beads game
Yeah.
or the arts and crafts game in here.
Yeah, yeah.
Brand tab, and as I said, you can always like break this out into a full analysis and look deeper into the brand. It can show you what the top products are for that brand, top categories again, just in case there's something you want to see, like how they're sort of strategically using categories to operate
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
perform, so on and so forth. So that's a really good tool there. And then the next one is keywords, which is one that I really love because I think keywords, I mean, everything is based in keywords, right? It's like a
Yeah.
keyword-based economy. It's very much a keyword-based economy. So just looking for specific keywords, and I'm somebody, Vova, who goes down rabbit holes with keywords, especially now that with the search query performance dashboard in
Mm-hmm.
Amazon,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is just like shows you metrics from top of funnel to bottom of funnel, which I think is great. And I think keywords are really fascinating. So again, like let's look at arts and crafts. Or you know what, Vova, is there a specific category you like? Let's change things up a little.
I mean, I like arts and crafts. I'm here in Thailand now, and I went to Bangkok here for to this mall, and there's a place to draw. Like you can pay some money to. They give you like a place to draw, and you have nice view, and so that's maybe why I was thinking of arts and crafts as well. But I'm selling myself in the pay show and loan category. I have products for barbecue, but again, we can
Let's
check
let's
both of
put
these. Like I'll give
Yeah,
you.
let's see what's out there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing to stop us. We're
Hmm.
having fun here.
Let's go.
And yeah, and I mean, any sense of like what you'd want for average review
Hmm.
count or average price? What do you got? Any thoughts?
Mm. So let's do maybe average price starting 50, ending 61. Average monthly revenue. Let's say this is revenue again of the keyword that we're gonna see. So let's do up to $150,000 on the max. Um, which kind of I said dollars, and now I'm thinking, could we use a different marketplaces of Amazon? You know what I mean? So maybe someone's watching and they're selling on actually United Arab Emirates Amazon. Does Varlanch support different marketplaces of Amazon? And is
Great,
there a
great question. Go.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
Uh,
You got it.
Great question. So not in product discovery, but in market
Yeah.
research, when you get down to the next level, there's a way to choose the marketplace, the international
Hmm.
marketplace that you
Hmm.
want to dive into.
Hmm.
What I always like to do is I'll start here in product discovery, find some ideas, and then I'll go and validate them in market intelligence.
Yeah, and then we can add some monthly sales of units, maybe minimum of, I don't know, minimum of for a keyword, I don't know. Let's do 1,000.
Yeah, I just also wanted to call out the fact that per depending on the tab you're in, these filters are going to differ just because
Hmm.
it's based on for that specific tab what is the most rational things for you to be looking at. So the most
Hmm.
top level things to be looking at in that specific tab or at that level. So obviously like monthly sales, and then you'll find basically the same filters that you found in another tab. They'll just be in advanced filters rather than be up top. So we put in our inputs and now we're going to hit show keywords, and then that will bring us down here. This can obviously be downloaded as we called out. There's also a toggle here that can show advanced data. So you're obviously going to get this basic overview of everything, and maybe that's good for you. Maybe too much data is too much data. But if you want, you can obviously hit the show advanced data, and that will show you just best sales period for that keyword based on the metrics like the size tier, price changes, so on and so forth, just in case you want to see how it's trending. But again, if that's overwhelming to you, you can always toggle it off. It really depends
Hmm.
on your outlook and perspective. There's a few different icons over here and shortcuts. So this one is just the market intelligence. This will take you right into the market intelligence tool and show you how that keyword performs down a very specific level. It'll bring up a bunch of sellers. We will get into that more in the market intelligence tab, but I did want
Hmm.
to call out the fact that there's a shortcut here. Also, the pinned
Hmm.
items. And then if you just want to view that keyword on Amazon, it will bring you specifically right into the platform so you can see what the keyword results are for that and what sort of product offerings are underneath it. and then,
Mm-hmm.
prices, reviews, just in case you like that view. But yeah, all these columns again are sortable. You're going to see average reviews, average revenue, average sales, so on and so forth. Is there a specific, there's the idea score too, which basically just shows based on, again, proprietary metrics internally, like we've calculated how much that you might want to look into that word. So it's on a 5-star scale, and the lower the stars, obviously not that interesting of a keyword, but the higher it gets, you're going to want to look into that. So like 3.8, like I think 3 and above is something worth checking out.
Mm-hmm.
You can obviously sort this by that. The more you get in here, like collapsible trolley, I'm very intrigued by. I don't even know what this is.
Let's see.
Oh, it's like
Mm-hmm.
a dolly. I call them
Mm-hmm.
dollies. This is localization at its finest. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Uh-huh.
just just a quick view of that, so on and so
Cool.
forth. Obviously, the this is something that per keyword the price has gone down over time, and
Mm.
sales changes, so on and so forth. You can sort through this as much as you want. I don't know if there's a specific thing that you'd want to see, Vova. Let me know.
The bigger ones that the one has like, I don't know, 30. It just probably for some reason somebody searched for that maybe, or I'm not sure why exactly such a big keyword appears, but we should look more into these two, three, four, five keywords basically. These are, I would say, a bit irrelevant in a way. I mean, it might still be a good product, but but like outer chain cushions and wax melter. Wax melter sounds interesting. I don't know, arts and crafts. Let's see what that's all about.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, so it melts the wax to create candles,
Okay.
which is interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, and this is really based on, so all these metrics, like the idea score, are based on the search volume. So obviously, like if you go to a lower search volume, it's got less data to really work with. So you might see some really high numbers with low search volume, which are going to be longer tail keywords, and then so on and so forth. It also shows the average sales to review, which is obviously a metric you want to be looking at because, reviews are everything on Amazon. So if you want to be looking at keywords that have a high review count, you can do that.
That's a good metric. Sales to reviews means like if it's 58.48, they're on the heaters outdoor portable means like for one review, uh the kind of the products on that keyword would get about 58 sales per review. So there's quite a lot of sales and not as many reviews as we can see here with this Oh, this is sponsored one, but I can see one that's there's a 12 reviews and 900 plus bought, which is pretty good. Like that's decent. I mean, that's sponsored, so it's hard to see if it's relevant or not, um but interesting, man. Yeah, we can already see some interesting numbers. At least the third one looks interesting to me. 12 reviews and 900 plus bought. That's exceptional. But then, yeah, we can. That's a good metric. I like this metric. Sales to reviews is always like a good metric because again, less reviews, more sales. So this can be potentially good and maybe not as saturated with reviews market, which still gets a lot of sales.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually a really fascinating one. I want to kind of look at this considering everything on here is a lower ticket item, and then you throw a $500 product on the page.
Mm.
Although it's selling really well. So that's the keyword. And then you can get down to the product and basically same thing, whether you want to look at arts and crafts or you can look at patio, lawn and garden, and
Hmm.
then monthly sales. We can go up to, throw out a number. What do you got?
Starting from 224, ending in 1,224. Let's go.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
And
And then pricing.
but then yeah, let's do minimum 50 and review count would be maximum 125. Oh no, okay, so let's do like that. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so this is going to break down it's going to bring us to those specific products. It's going to show us what the brand is. So if you want to look into the brand more, it's over here. The number of sellers, which is great because these are unique sellers and not resellers. You can look at the average reviews. Obviously, these have no reviews. And then the bestseller rank, which is absolutely something worth considering. price and just looking at these products. Again, there are these icons, so you can click on it to be brought to that specific product if you want to read its bullets, look at the A plus content. If you're doing this for competitive research, however you're using it, you can kind of look into it that way.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and there's all these opportunities in here. Which way do you think we should sort this, Bob? Any specific way?
I just wanted to mention also that in the net price, in the price, there's net price.
Yes,
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is net price after Amazon fees, right? So this is if it's
correct.
69.98, then after Amazon fees, the referral fee plus fulfillment fees, it leaves us with 43.25, and then based on our say this kind of set of what is that matte tulle, lightweight polyester tulle, some arts and crafts stuff. Maybe if it costs us like just X amount of dollars to produce, X amount of dollars to ship, so then we can kind of based on the net price, we can and the cost of goods and cost of shipping and all the logistics, we can see kind of what eventually we get. But to your question, man, let's see. We can go by BSR. We can click on BSR and see the lowest ones. So like lower BSR, the higher the sales. So maybe we can see the best selling products here, and let's see what we get in this case.
Yeah, and for your example, like even
Mm-hmm.
underneath, we showed net price. It's also showing profit versus
Mm-hmm.
revenue, which is really great
But then
too.
again,
So you
I'll
can,
mention, sorry to cut you, John, just to our viewers. So maybe they'll see like, oh, why 75K profit? But I would say that's profit before cost of goods, before shipping costs, obviously before refunds, returns, and all that. But that's kind of profit as for, mm, yeah, basically only minus Amazon fees.
correct.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously you can see sales changes in the advanced data down here, which is
Hmm.
great.
But here we're seeing the best-selling products in a way because like BSR bestseller rank is low in Passion Loan. I also sell in Passion Loan, like barbecue products is also our category. So this is very low rating. And then what I would usually do if I find a good product, say that I see, oh wow, this like has maybe only 200 reviews, does decent sales. So then I'll go and check the keywords for that product to see if maybe it's just maybe this is the only product getting sales in this niche, or maybe not. And if there's more like competitors to that product with similar keywords that are doing well and the niche is kind of has room for new players, maybe I could see in the niche then newer players that are getting sales with low reviews that just got into the market. That's a nice indicator for me that I'd say, okay, if I want to, it will take me maybe 3 months, 6 months to develop and get the product to market. So then maybe that will make sense. So yeah, basically, yeah, we have them here. Mm.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really interested in looking at the sort of collapsible wagons. So what we're going to do is that's basically a wrap on everything in product discovery. I think it's a really great tool.
Mhm.
It's very robust. You can get a lot of information out of it and a lot of data. You can export, do all sorts of things.
Mhm.
And I think that that's really like a very strong way that we perform a viral launch is with the product discovery. But if you want to get to another level, we can go into the market intelligence tool. I'm looking at these like collapsible
Mhm.
wagons. I'm very curious how this performs. And again, as I mentioned this before, when you search, you can
Mhm.
pick by the marketplace. It's obviously just the EU, Canada, Mexico, and then South America,
Mhm.
India, and Japan.
Yeah.
So like the main
Mhm.
ones.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then this is gonna do its magic, and then we're gonna get some results.
So market
So
intelligence is kind of the also I would say the extension of viral launch, right? We can separately have it on
yeah,
our browser, but also it's inside the tool itself. We also have we have the data.
yeah, for
That we.
sure. Yeah, you can get that the extension, and basically that's really good for again market research, competitor intelligence, all sorts of things. I know that's a very popular tool that we have.
Mhm.
And then market intelligence is just going to break down what that looks like for this keyword. So it's
Mhm.
got 5 tabs. You can have the sellers tab. This is basically going to see like who's selling for that keyword, associated keywords, trends, which kind of just call out specific sales periods, sales over time, basically those averages across everything. The analysis tab is really interesting when we get to it because it really calls out the insights for the seller. And then finally, an FBA calculator that'll show what the barrier to entry and all of those costs associated with it are.
Hmm.
But we'll start with sellers, and under here you have a standard view and a detailed view.
Hmm.
The detailed view will break out like over for that keyword to rank within the top 5 listings, the top 10 listings, or that page one listings. What does that look like for those sellers aggregated? So, like for the top 5 listings, these are the average sales, top 10 listings, so on and so forth. Does the same aggregation for reviews. And then at the bottom, it'll show what the estimated monthly sales are and reviews needed to sell well and get there. So it's basically showing you what the barrier to entry is for getting there.
Hmm.
And that's page one, top 10, and then top 5, which I think is really interesting. And then the standard view breaks down individual sellers and the competition. And this is showing all sorts of metrics across the board. You can call in as much as you want. You can bring in photos. There's a toggle here.
Hmm.
So that'll just bring you the main image just in case you want to see what's there.
Mm.
And then the columns are customizable. So you can zero down to as much or as little as you want to see. Because I know, again, like I get overwhelmed with data, and sometimes I just need the things that I want to look at side by side. And then other times I do want to kind of look at everything holistically and bring up everything.
Hmm.
So that's that view there. And again, exportable. So you can export selected rows or all rows
Hmm.
and get that. So down here is I should start high level. This is basically just showing the keyword, the estimated search volume, the product ID, the idea score. So that's just showing you like how good of an idea it is, which is anything above 3 is a pretty good one. So collapsible wagon, if anyone's out there and looking for something to sell, I'd say look into collapsible wagons. And then it's the aggregation of that keyword of everything like the review counts, review ratings, and the averages, monthly sales, product prices. And that's based on analysis of everything that shows up in these results. As you'll see, some of these show up as red, and that's because
Hmm.
they're outliers. And if you scroll over here to this tooltip, it'll show you why it's an outlier. So sales outlier will show you that um, the actual monthly sales are either too low or too high compared to everything else. So
Yeah.
as you can see, these are
Mm.
really low, and then everything else is very high. And then the other ones are review outliers. So you'll see
Hmm.
that reviews are just like far and away
Yeah.
outside the norm of
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
here.
Hmm.
So if you want to just sort of get a more accurate view, you can unclick those, you can keep them in there, but you can update analysis and that will rerun these numbers. So I mean, it's still a
Mm.
good opportunity. It's just like the numbers are a little more zeroed in and focused rather than having those outliers in there.
Hmm.
And again, you can scroll over and look at as much as you want here. You can scroll down. Anything that is in green, you can click on, and that will bring you up like a trend over time in the historical data for each. So if you want to look at pricing for specific ones, if you want to look at monthly sales, you can see how that performed over time. This dip right here is interesting to me. And then review quantity, so on and so forth. Yeah, and so that's the sellers tab. And then the next one is keywords, and it's just showing related keywords. So maybe like, there's something adjacent to this keyword, like foldable wagon. Maybe you want to look into that.
Mm.
And what I would do is just take this and basically cannibalize it into the platform to see what that looks like. You can also pin it, so on and so forth. But this is basically just showing you a breakdown across keywords. So when we come up with that idea score, what it's doing is it's taking these adjacent keywords too and aggregating that data and factoring it into like, because a keyword doesn't really define an entire market. So it's basically kind of taking a lot more broader data into consideration. It's something good to look at. And then the trends, as I called out, it's just showing you average price over 90 days, the best selling period for that keyword, which is October, rate of review. So that's 919 per month, and then annual sales trend, which seems to be going up. And
Hmm.
then you can get more historical data down here to look at, which is good. And then the analysis, as I called out, is really helpful because it's actually just calling out specifically what you need to know for that keyword. So if you don't even want to look at that, maybe you don't even want to be bothered, maybe those metrics don't even make sense to you, or
Mm.
you can't make heads or
Hmm.
tails of them, and you just want to know what you want to know, You can go right to the analysis tab and it's going to tell you, hey, this keyword has potential. This product has potential. These are the possible monthly sales that you need, reviews needed to sell well, and then the sales pattern analysis, and it's just showing typical. So those will change per each. And then at the bottom, there's tips, warnings, and alerts, and we'll call out specific insights. So this one says the average review volume is extremely high, which makes makes it a higher barrier to entry. There will be all sorts of calls outs in here, depending on what that specific keyword
Yeah.
is and what you might want to consider. So I think that's really insightful and helpful to sellers. And then finally, you have the FBA calculator, which is basically just breaking down specific fees. And these can be based on dimensions. So say like you have a specific product dimension in mind because you're thinking about like how, the shipping and logistics of it. That's going to change the FBA fees and inventory fees. Yeah. And then down here, as far as like the advanced calculations, you can go in here and basically just sort of like throw in what your goals are. So like, let's say you want to be in the top 10 or if you want to be in the top five, your ranking strategy, whether it's aggressive, moderate, or conservative, you can have all of these inputs in here. Um, Say ambitious, I'm just, and it's going to recalculate everything based on
Hmm.
what your approach is. And you could see sort of what all of these fields are from initial order quantities to landed unit cost to diligence cost to software. You can put all of the stuff in there if you have that level of detail. And then once you have it done calculating, that will refactor everything and you'll see what the upfront cost is. And then it'll also calculate total profitability per all of that data. The market intelligence tool. And then, as I said, there is also the plugin. So if you go into a specific keyword, like if you go into Wax Melter and you click on the extension, it'll bring up that view in here. So you'll have it right in the platform. So you can do it as you browse, looking through, maybe doing competitive research and you just want to see who else is in the market, who their competitors are. You're doing market research in general. It can come in handy for a number of reasons. You're looking for a product launch, anything.
Yeah, also, I'll mention to our listeners, viewers, well, try to, I believe there's a link to get the extension, and it will go to the Chrome store, and there's, the extension will be there. I believe I have a link for that, and yeah, it's gonna be there for our listeners, viewers to kind of to get it.
From there, you can go into keyword research. So obviously, you've discovered a product, you like it, you've gone into intelligence, you've done some research, and you find out, hey, this is a good product, and now you want to get closer to competitor intelligence and listing optimization, all of that. So, I mean, you can do additional keyword research because you can see what else is happening in that place and for those keywords. So we're going to go collapsible wagon again
Hmm.
and then search, and then that will bring up all sorts of results. So at the top of the page, you're going to have just the main keyword. You're going to see all the stats compared for that. You can obviously pin it. You can view it in Market Intelligence, or again, you can view it on Amazon. You're going to see a priority score, which basically says like based on this keyword, how much of a priority these other keywords are. So
Mm.
it's associated, and then relevancy is just like how relevant to that is, and those are on a scale from 0 to 1,000. You're going to see keyword volume estimates. You're going to see search volume trends, whether that keyword, the search has gone up and down over time, the average price within that keyword, opportunity score, which we discussed earlier, and then average sales, average review count, and then the dominant category.
Hmm.
You can download this just like the other ones. You can take keywords and you can springboard right into create a listing in our listing builder tool, which we'll discuss in a minute. Or you
Hmm.
can add it to a keyword bank, which is basically just like pinned items for keywords as far as maintaining sort of a keyword universe for your specific product.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, from there you can look at these specific keywords down here. You can sort all these columns are sortable. So if you want to look at like what's the higher or lower, um, depends. And then obviously lower or it depends if you're looking for some good CPC or PPC opportunities,
Hmm.
so on and so forth. And the higher volume is just to look at broader markets. Obviously, wagon is different. You can click on these to see exactly what is showing up in. Oh, these are showing up. I thought this would be a broader.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so too, man. But there you go.
Really? I might go into the wagon. I might go into the wagon game, Vova. This has been an enlightening conversation. This and beads. Okay, but shopping cart, I feel like is going to be wow. Okay.
Yeah, there you go,
I'm
man.
learning all sorts. I'm learning all sorts of things today.
Interesting.
See, this is why we have these tools, so we can
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
at this level.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so just showing you all of the keywords associated with, and you can kind of go into that. Again, if you click on these, you're going to get that historical data over time. This is showing like historical Amazon data, which is in the gray, which is the figures that Amazon used to release, and then from there it becomes the proprietary estimates that we've calculated over time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's sort of it for keyword research. Again, columns are sortable, but you can use this for again looking at validating some things you found in product discovery and market intelligence. It could be doing some research for PPC campaigns. It could be any number of other things that you're looking into.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to look at what's optimizing to optimize the listing, just what keywords you're going to
Mm-hmm.
want to include, which seems to matter less and less over time, but still matters.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, from there, we can go right into competitor intelligence. Competitor intelligence is a tool that I love. It can start by you can track a new competitor, so you can put in a specific ASIN, and you're going to add that here. I'm just going to take a random, we're going to do a wagon because
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested. Any of these stand out to you? I'm trying to see what, here, I'm going to grab this one.
All right.
I'm just going to grab this ASIN right here. I'm going to plug it right into the platform. And then I'm going to track the product.
Mm-hmm.
And that will
Mm-hmm.
bring in here. And then that will bring us into this view, which is the competitor analysis. And so there's two tabs in here. You're going to have the product analysis, which gets to a more granular level. This is just competitor keywords. So you can see how that competitor is performing. And so if you go down here, these are the keywords that are showing up in that listing. Obviously, these are going to change over time. So um, as you track competitors, the more these are going to expand because we're going to be tracking and scraping that specific data for that competitor as time goes on. And then within that, you can actually track specific keywords. And then that will uh, build that into whether you're adding it to your keyword manager tool and so on and so forth for tracking and using it for other things. And so there's priority score type, volume estimate, CPC bid, opportunity score, whether the product is indexed for it, and then organic rank, how much it's gone up over time and trending. And then if you have your product in here, it's based on like your, so if I was a wagon as well and had mine input into the main dashboard for my profile, it would show how my product is ranking for this keyword as well
Mm-hmm.
as the sponsored rank for it. And then whether it's in your keyword bank or not. And so that'll be a good indicator of whether you want to keep track of that keyword because there might be something in here where you're like, oh, look, I didn't know about this keyword before. I want to track it now. And that's good for again listing optimization, PPC campaigns, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also put in rank change alerts for specific keywords once you track them. So it
Also,
can do
mhm.
hourly tracking, and it will tell you if that product has changed rank and dropped or
Mm-hmm.
increased in rank over time.
Mm-hmm. We also have filters there, right, Jonathan? So it
Yeah,
automatically had the organic rank 50 or lower. That means like this is like ranking relatively high, like from number one would be the highest position, page number one to like 50, which is maybe depends on the kind of search results you see, but that's probably 50 would be probably page number two.
yeah,
Um, and then, yeah, we can remove them or not remove them. Their search volume estimate. That means these keywords are at least getting some sort of volume. And of course, if we remove the organics, if we remove the filters, we're gonna just see more keywords like now, for example.
absolutely,
Oh,
100%. Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then that's that. These filters are in this, and then they're also in, I forgot to call them out, and they're also in keyword research for collapsible wagon. Yeah, you can add these filters in the keyword research as well. So you
Uh-huh.
can,
Yeah.
any like keyword type category, priority
Hmm.
score, and then add any sort of criteria to really drill down into specific level of detail that you want.
Hmm.
But back in competitor intelligence, I'm going to look at this product and then, so that's the keyword view just to see what kind of how it's performing with keywords. And then the product analysis is great because it's going to show you specific callouts for that specific product. It's going to show you the number of sellers, who the buy box holder is. You
Mm-hmm.
can look at the image stack in here.
Mm.
It's going to tell you the dimensions, all of that information. And then over here, again, if I had my product in that main page, it's going to compare my price to their price, the unit sold to their unit sold, so on and so forth. So you can see that side by side comparison, which I think is really, really interesting and helpful. And then as you get down, it's sort of like that brand or category full analysis that we talked about earlier, where it's showing you specific revenue and sales trends over here. It's going to call out the specific fees and breakdown of like referral fee, FBA fees, estimated unit costs, and then you have the unit margin over here,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is great. And then product
Mm.
discounts is, I mean, it's just going to show you, bring you to the Amazon page, and then just the review information over time. So it's just basically showing you how your competitors performing over time, how you stack up against them. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting things in there worth looking at.
Nice, man. Yeah, so basically we
Yeah.
plug in our ASIN. Can we plug in a few ASINs, right? We can put in a few, as you mentioned, no? Can't we? Then we do the VS. Oh yeah, we have it on the right side, right? If
So
we
if I go to, yeah, so if I go here, I'll look at a specific, I don't know if ours are in here, but I think we have, yeah, so this is like a product that we have in here that will show like reviews.
Mm,
So it'll just show like how things are stacking up against
mm,
BSR, stars, so on and so forth.
mhm.
So this is just what that view would look like with a poor product. If you wanted a better product and you're performing better, then it's in there.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that information as well,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and you're seeing
Okay.
the side by side comparison.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, one of the so that goes this defaults to your when you set up your viral launch profile, it's showing what products you have assigned when you connect it to your um, Seller Central account. The thing that we're rolling out is the ability to put in an extra competitor and other multiple competitors, so you can stack them up across the board. Sort of like I don't know if you've seen how Data Dive does it when they have that breakout.
I'm familiar with the guys, but I never really used their tools. Just, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
but you're
just
saying we
showing
just
you
can
like a
take
side by side.
a few ASINs and like you mean like here we have two, right? That we can
Right, you could do
compare.
like three or
Mm,
four, like
yeah.
and they don't need to be your product. They can be an agnostic product that you just you
Uh-huh.
input.
I understand. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So competitor intelligence is again just drilling down to the extra level, seeing what's out there, how you stack up against them. That could be used prior to starting to sell. That could be used after you're selling, and as you go on, you're just looking to optimize your listing and your business, and try to sort of reverse engineer a competitor's tactics. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
place for that.
Mm,
Another place for that is in the listing analyzer. So this will bring up what listings you have, again, tied to your Seller Central account. Again, we're going to make this agnostic so you can put in other products. That's being rolled out in the roadmap. But for right now, if in your product it's breaking down uh, an overall product analysis. So it's showing you your price versus your competitor, or your price versus the average price in that competition, revenue, monthly sales. It's showing you the review analysis, your reviews versus the average reviews, and then a breakdown of the listing. So photo analysis, this is telling you the number of photos and any insights or guidance. So like if you need to add photos and to adhere to Amazon's TOS, all of that
mm-hmm.
information will be in here. And then also as far as listing text analysis, it's showing you the optimization score is average. So what that's taking is the entire keyword universe or relevant keywords for that category and what the search volume is associated with how much you're actually ranking for, or what how much like SEO juice you have in your listing, and saying, hey, like there's room for improvement here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's recommending that updating the optimization score, but it's also showing you what the character count limit is on, the bullet points and so on.
Okay.
And from that, it can go over to suggested keywords. So it's going to show you keywords, whether they're used in your listing or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So you really want to just look at like keywords that aren't in your listing. You can sort by, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can show. So the show competitor terms are showing branded terms for competitors, which are great for like competitor conquest campaigns. But it's up to you whether you want to see them or not. And then you can just sort of look at the priority score, volume estimates, ones that aren't in your listing, and then seeing what sort of opportunities there are there. So, like for example, this dog toy box seems like a good opportunity. It's a cumbersome keyword, and then woven basket isn't as relevant, but there's some probably some keywords in here that are worth looking at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And then yeah, and putting into listing. The do dog toy box is definitely a good
Delicious.
one, and
Yeah.
so that's just something worth earmarking. I could take this, and you have these opportunities, so you can add it to a PPC campaign. You can add it as a negative keyword to a PPC campaign, or you can view it as Amazon on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So there are all those opportunities as well. And then if you go to Keyword Manager, this is basically showing you all of the keywords that you're using or relevant to your product that you've tracked, that you've added to your keyword bank. And it's basically the keyword, the tailored keyword universe that you've created and the ones that you've decided are interesting, worth keeping track of and looking at. So that's basically just boiling it down because a lot of the keyword research and other tools, especially how you have the filter set, are going to give you a lot of, and rightly so, you're going to want to see how far outside the margins you can get because there are going to be long tail keywords that have nothing to do with your product. And so you're going to get some that are irrelevant and you just want to sort of trim the fat now that trim the ones that are relevant and reflective of your product to your keyword manager. And so that's a really good ability to do that there. And then you could do that per product as well. But back to listing analyzer.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the suggested keywords that we're looking at, and then competing and complementary products. And this is just like showing you within that category of like, what sort of products are complementary. So that could be something like looking into for a product launch to expand your brand, something that maybe you want to like bundle with your product and look at that. And then competing products are obviously ones that are like for like competitors for yours that you want to look at as well. So it's giving you just an overview of this. What I like to do is come in here and find these competitors and then plug them into the competitor intelligence tool and sort of
Mm.
reverse engineer things like that. But obviously all sortable as well. So you can show all of those, whether they're sold by Amazon, FBI, FBM, and if they're out or not. And then you have this same where you can track it in competitor intelligence, view on Amazon, PPC, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah, and so I think listing analyzer is really good for just seeing the state of your listing, how it stacks up against competitor listings, and then once you sort of have that information, you obviously want to optimize it. So that's when we go into our listing builder tool. And over here is just a layout of like you creating and crafting your listing. So you can enter a specific keyword. So we could do, collapsible. We love this
Okay.
keyword today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to bring up, and so you can sort this by priority, volume, or
Um,
opportunity. So if you're somebody who likes, estimated volume, you can also break this down by phrase or by unique keywords. So it's going to be singular keywords or um, phrases. So like two or more words or
mm-hmm.
complete search
Mm-hmm.
terms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to show you that. So once you start creating your listing, you can be doing like, Vova's magic collapsible wagon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a brand name for it. As you type in these
Mm.
keywords, they're going to be struck off. So you're going to see what you have used and what you haven't used. And then you can, add other keywords, foldable cart, whatever you think. I mean, obviously they say the more keyword juice at the front of the title is the best. So just trying to get those high priority keywords in there. And then, adding like folding, and then you can go in and create an entire title that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's also calling out character limits. So it's going to
Character
cut you
limits.
off at 200. Obviously, those change. So you can obviously change what the feature bullets are. You can make them like 120. You can make your title 100, which is based on Amazon's TOS. I know it changes per product category and stuff. but this will cut you off at 100, but you can plug in as many keywords as you want. I'm just gonna, for the sake of argument, rather than get us completely bogged down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Utility wagon with wheels. I'm just trying to get these keywords out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
And then great for grocery shopping. This is my copywriter nature coming to life right now.
Not bad, man. Yeah.
Fold up and go. Take it camping. And then large utility here. We're gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then portable.
Yeah.
Portable and convenient. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So then once you have your bullets, which hopefully they're a lot more higher quality than the ones that I just composed, but once you have them, you're going to see that a lot of these words are crossed off, and then there are keywords here that are misspellings, so on and so forth. You can look at the phrases and see what's in here. Obviously, like what I like to do is come over to the unique phrases because there are ones that, they don't show up in the high volume ones, but they might have like 40 terms, or like this one, wheel has 11 associated with it, other keywords. So it's like, you want to make sure you get that somewhere in the listing.
Yeah.
So I like to look at those, and I think it's really useful to look at it that way. But once you're done and you have everything in there, you can just hit move unused. This got changed. So I know that Amazon changed the back end to like 2,500 characters at some point. So you can just hit move unused, and that's going to it's going to take all of those leftover keywords and move it over here. Obviously, aren't that many keywords in there. So
Mm-hmm. Mm.
you can add additional keywords. I mean, depending on your appetite for risk, you can put brands or competitors or other terms in there. It's entirely up to you. I
Yeah.
don't, I do not recommend that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know that there are people who do that. Yeah, or adjacent keywords for products that are related, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a really great way to create the backend
Yeah. So we kind of
and
we got the best keywords on the left that have uh like that are relevant to if we want to sell a wagon or a collapsible wagon. And we've put them in the title, in the bullets, in the description, and then we have the maximum kind of as on the right upper side we can see that we used most of or we kind of covered all the keywords. So that's the idea, to find all the kind of semantic core of keywords that is relevant to our product, place the most relevant in the title as much as we can, and make the title, if we can, also clickable. Okay, so that means like it can be just keywords, but it can be even better. So the title can be like, say it's Vova's Magic Collapsible Wagon Foldable Cart for easy folding and fun shopping, something like that. That's my copywriter nature. But yeah, something along these lines, of course, needs to have, again, the keywords, but we usually do have space for clickability, you can say. So for helping us with CTR, because people read that, and if the title stands out, then it's nice because people might click more. But definitely we have to have the keywords, bullets, title, boom, description, backend search terms. Nice.
Yeah, for sure. You can import listings up here. So if there's a listing that you already have, you can just click on
Mm,
that and put it by the ASIN. You can copy these results and copy and paste them into a file. You can copy and paste them into the back of Seller Central. You can also download them. You can clear them as well. But up here
mm,
is something I should call that with like just showing you when you take out all of these, it's going to show you all of the search volume that could be there and potential, but isn't. So you know, uh, once we put Vova's collapsible wagon back in there,
mhm, mhm,
it's going to call out like how much of those search terms overall, like kind of the penetration of those keywords are you in the search volume associated, are you actually getting? And it'll tell you needs work. Obviously, when we had it in here, we had like camping and all sorts of other things in here. Go grocery shopping, so on and so forth. It's gonna, oh, and folding. That was the other thing.
mhm,
Foldable, utility cart. And it'll just get us up there. And then you could put folding and is uh, folding, take it camping.
Mm,
And then you can get it up there to good to great, depending on what you would there
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with
Hmm.
wheels.
Hmm.
So there we go. Got it to great. And then judge it that way. So that's really like the main tools for product discovery. And then, you're going to optimize your listing. You're obviously going to want to consider what keywords you are using for PPC campaigns and insert them in there. And then once you have that, you can obviously go over into Adsprout. So coming right into the Adsprout dashboard, once you click on it, you're going to have these fully customizable dashboards that you can edit the layout. Obviously, right up here, you're getting a full level view over time of your performance. And you can switch these to whatever you'd like. So you can, if you want to look at the cost of your campaigns, if you want to look at that view, if you want to look at clicks, if you want to look at cost per clicks, and you can measure that against anything else that you want.
Mm.
So you can measure click through rate against clicks. Obviously, that's going to be more, but like, let's say if you want to look at CPC versus the click through rate, you're going to
Mm.
have those trends together and you can analyze that data over time. So you have that. You can change the dates to whatever time frame that you want. I mean, as long as you've been running campaigns, you'll get that data.
Hmm.
And then, you can also filter by specific criteria. It's all customizable. And then what I was saying earlier is one of the things that I really love about it is just how you can edit the layout. So you can move these modules around. You can move this
Hmm.
up, you can move it down, whatever you want. Yeah, you can move these anywhere you want, any visualization you want. I think it's really helpful. You can also, in depending on like these are all sort of standard, you get a standard dashboard when you go in and it'll give you standard view, but you can add an item. So if there's a specific chart, bar graph, if you want to look at like a word cloud for a specific keyword, you can look at specific um, it's going to give you the most prominent keywords in the word cloud, so you can, base that on, impressions,
Mm.
whatever you want. Like, and you could do this over the last 12 months, and hopefully that would change. Yeah, so it'll just like change that word cloud over time. So that's one example of something that you can do. You can add a full funnel, you can add a table, a text box, all these sorts of things. You can add a scorecard, which will break down. You can look at share of voice, which I think is really interesting. All these different abilities. If you want to configure these anyway, you can obviously change them any way you want. You
Hmm.
can make them vertical or horizontal. It's really based on what people's preferences are.
Hmm.
And I think the platform makes it really easy to deliver data that you need any way that you want. Um, but Adsprout gives you all of these different data visualizations and then also the ability to structure campaigns. So you can,
Hmm.
oh my God. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm getting nervous because of all these technical things.
I understand, man. It's a lot. But
Okay. So those are the dashboards, and then you can go into management. You can obviously create segments and build out campaigns any way that you would like. Creating ad groups and then containing, not containing, and then adding any specific criteria to those that you would want. Anything stand out to you? Anything you want to try?
so these will kind of be created within our Amazon account, right?
Correct.
Through Adsprout. Okay.
Yeah,
So we
they
can
are
create a
connected.
campaign.
It's all automated.
Mhm.
So yeah, once you come into Adsprout, you can create specific PPC campaigns and the automations for them, and it'll bid up or bid down, dynamic, all those things for you. And you can also like turn that off, like the automations, and do that. But there's aggressive and specific. But you create the campaigns, structure
Mhm.
them the way you want. And then I'm going to give an example of like, in here you can have a cautious
Mm.
automation, moderate, or dynamic. So it's really going to
Mhm.
be what your appetite is and what you're looking at. And you can turn these on or off depending on the specific rules that you set up,
Mhm.
which I think is really great. Um, and different marketplaces really depending on where you're selling, so on and so forth. Um, Yeah, that is Adsprout at a glance.
Hmm.
I think it's a really dynamic platform. Again, like the dashboards, I think is really great. I think the bid management and like campaign structuring, I think everybody is going to be familiar with. If you're not, there are tutorials for that that get into really in depth on like PPC strategy and how to actually structure campaigns. But I think the main thing is the automation and the ability to just sort of set it and forget it, which I think people who have dealt with PPC, it can be stressful. And so that's like one of those layers of like needing to, put it as cautious. You can view how it does over time and then go back and revisit it. And if you want to be a little bit more moderate or aggressive, you can. You can obviously
Hmm.
also turn off the automations altogether and just white knuckle it if that's also your style.
What's the
Yeah.
Discover tab, Jonathan, or have we checked it? Where dashboards management Discover?
So because of the way that they set it up, there's no in this account I can't get to it.
Okay,
But
so
that's just looking at DSP and sponsor like that's like looking at the sponsored products, sponsored brands and displays. Yeah, how familiar are you with PPC? Is there anything specific that you'd want to set up or do or try?
so basically with PPC, my business partner takes care of that. I'm more in the logistics and negotiation, suppliers. He's more of a numbers guy. I'm somewhat myself, but I'm more like, the one who speaks, the one who, you know, negotiates prices, da da da. He's more like, uh, he's not too much of that, although he of course can, but he prefers to, stay outside of that. So I'm familiar in a sense of like I know that what it is, but I've never set up PPC campaigns or something like that. Yeah, but familiar. Mm.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity. I think this is a great for people who want to start and aren't that familiar, but like want
Mm.
to kind of dive into it. It's a way of you can kind of be guided and have your hand held along the way and
Hmm. Hmm.
have the dynamic up and down biddings is really great and seeing how performance over time. So like, you set it, you see how it does over a week, and if, you set the thresholds, and if you don't like the way that it performed, you can go back and reiterate, turn it off, turn it back on, be more
Hmm.
aggressive. Again, those data visualizations, because I look at other platforms and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm looking at or want the things that I want. So like the ability to look at like impressions for like overall impressions and ACOS and total sales, paid orders, so on and so forth, I think is really great.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
All
also the
right.
deltas associated. Yeah, and you can also like obviously when you configure these can be set to different time periods. So like I think in other dashboards, right, like you set up a date range up here and it'll be like static throughout, whereas you can create like a date range here that might be different from a date range here just to compare over time.
Awesome.
That's mostly it. Is there other additional questions or thoughts or something you'd like me to go over in the dashboard?
We did cover most of the tools. No, we did cover because there was.
We covered all the tools. The only thing I didn't cover is the split testing tool, which
Uh-huh.
I think it mirrors what Amazon does with its experiments. So I don't think it adds anything. So
Okay. Hmm.
I don't want to like push it.
So I think we could quickly jump into pricing and kind
Yeah,
of.
pricing. So obviously we offer both monthly and annual plans.
Hmm.
The core, as you can see, if you come into the pricing page, it'll show you exactly what you get for each of those. So there's the core, there's the growth, and then the scalar. So core is really just looking at product discovery and market intelligence, and then the growth adds on the additional like listing optimization tools, and then scalar adds the ad sprout onto that. So really, you're looking at like whether you are a seller who's just trying to dangle their feet in the water and see what's out there and whether there are opportunities for selling. The core plan is good for you. The growth plan is if you're actually actively selling and wanting to get into optimizing your listings and be more competitive. And then scalar is if you're actually running PPC as well, in addition to those things.
So we're now seeing the annual. That means we're gonna be billed annually, like once per year, or monthly once per month. That's the most basic, kind of prices. I would mention that in the description again, we have a link that helps save money. So there's discounts for the monthly plans, and I believe for the yearly plan, the discount is going to be even bigger. So, for those who maybe sometimes sellers would like to try for a month, and then if they see the power it, then they can invest in the yearly plan because they will just save more money long term, I guess. And so that makes the annual, I myself, I got yesterday, I think I invested in I have some tool that helps us post on Pinterest. So I got a yearly version of it because it's just cheaper if I like the tool and we do use it. So that's when annual I think makes sense because you save way more. And with a discount code, I think there's up to 40% savings on the yearly. I think up to 30% on the monthly. The code is VOVA, VOVA, which helps again save money. There's a 7-day money back guarantee, which is nice, I think, because again, if sellers try and it doesn't work for them or it's something they can, kind of not continue using. Although I would recommend speaking to support and seeing if the kind of issue can be solved before canceling. But then again, up to each and every one and how they see things. There's a pricing of market intelligence as well, right, Jonathan? So that is the kind of Chrome extension, or if it's inside the tool, it's within the tool for product research, product validation, and this can be purchased like as a separate tool, or it's also included in the other pricing that we've seen previously. But if some people only need the extension, then boom, there it is.
It's a la carte, so you can have
Yeah.
the market intelligence alone, and just I always recommend people just to see how valuable the platform can be is always start with the market intelligence tool, and
Hmm.
then if once you see the value in it, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
upgrade to another core growth or scalar membership from there.
Mhm. Again, I'll mention, yeah, finally the best deal is in the description. There's going to be a link. There's going to be a coupon code. And again, I'll mention this an affiliate link means that if you, the viewer, ever do business with Viral Launch and invest in the platform, I'm going to get a little commission from that, no extra cost to you. And this way we can keep the content free and kind of continue creating and building together. Also, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you, man, are there any kind of before we wrap up, are there any popular questions that you get, maybe from sellers about Viral Launch, maybe something that you see like again and again, again and again, and this will help our listeners maybe to, then, well, they can still, of course, ask any question they want, I believe, with the support and everything, but at least they'll straight away know like the answers. So, what do you think? Is there something that's kind of reoccurring in your case that you
Yeah,
remember,
I
maybe?
think I think a few things. I think one, I think people are thrown off by the name Viral Launch because I think when the company was formed, it largely supported launches and was heavy
Yes.
in that. And I think people misrepresent the company as thinking that if they're not launching something, then that there's no value. And I think that that's not true. We offer value to customers throughout every stage of growth from, just launching a product, but also optimizing and growing their business to the best of their abilities and to support them in that. And additionally, I just think that a lot of the value, listen, I think keyword research tools are our research keyword research tool is good and our listing optimization tool is good and that, but like our competitor intelligence, our market intelligence tool, and our product discovery tool are unrivaled. And I think that those are really where the opportunity and value is for sellers.
Mhm. Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you for the in-depth tutorial, man. We went basically we showcased all the tools basically and with examples and hopefully it was somewhat clear for sellers. If not, of course, please drop comments. We'll try to explain if something was unclear, but I believe we kind of did explain and did our best and it was fun also, We discovered some products and it was just mainly good energies, man, which I truly appreciate and hopefully it was useful for our listeners and viewers too, man. So yeah, hoping to see you for more videos, man. If you ever want to be a guest again, I would truly be happy to host you and we can, give more kind of use cases of how Bar Lunch can help sellers or any other topic you want to discuss. I'm glad to host you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, Vova, this has been great. I really appreciate your energy too. So thank you for the opportunity. I'd love to come back and explain anything more or in a more concise way or however I can be of help.
Thank you very much for today, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you.